Bryan,
Yes.
congratulations
Thank you.
on having your story told on the big screen.
Yeah.
How has it been for you watching it?
It's been really interesting. It was surreal at first because I just never imagined that the work I do, would be the subject of a film. And so it was kind of odd. But the more I've been able to watch the film and then see people respond to the film, the more exciting and gratifying it's become. I've always believed that if people saw what I see on a regular basis, they'd want the same things I want. They'd want people to be treated fairly. They'd want people to be treated respectfully. They wouldn't want to see people abused or treated cruelly. And the film creates an opportunity for people to see that, and that's really exciting to me. I hope it motivates people to get involved, to appreciate why we have to fight harder. We've got to do more to eliminate inequality and injustice and the kind of bigotry that you see in display in this story.
I just want to pick up on some of the things you said there. So, in terms of encouraging action from audiences, is there something in particular that you'd like to see people do? And especially, obviously, I'm from The Voice, which is Britain's black newspaper.
Yeah.
So, for black viewers, is there something that you want them to be empowered to do?
Yeah, well, first of all, we have a website, eji.org, and if people are looking for organizations to get involved with who are working on these issues, we'll connect them. Because I do think everybody has something to contribute to help people who are struggling with this problem. There are thousands of families who have loved ones in jails and prisons, people coming out of jails and prisons who need help. But I also think that it's important for us to be educated about these issues. And there's a lot of information that we have that we want to share with people. We hope that viewers will get that information. I think we have to be politically active. I think voting and making sure that our voices are being heard and respected is important. And then also just kind of recognizing our own strength. We have a challenging history, the history of slavery, the history of racial oppression, the history of inequality. But in that history, there's also a story of strength, of endurance, of resilience, of people who stood up when it wasn't convenient, people who spoke when it wasn't convenient. And if we understand that story, we'll be willing to do those hard things. I don't think we can change the world if we're not willing to do uncomfortable things. And I always want to see communities of color find the strength and courage to do the uncomfortable that achieves more justice. And that's my hope when people see the film.
We see that a lot in the work that you do, so that strength that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And obviously some of these situations can be incredibly traumatic and uncomfortable. How do you cope with that on a personal level?
Yeah, I think a lot about the people who came before me. That gives me comfort. I live in Montgomery, Alabama, where 60 years ago the people trying to do what I'm trying to do had to frequently say, my head is bloody but not bowed. They would put on their Sunday best and go places just to advocate for fair treatment, and they would be brutalized, they would be beaten and bloodied and attacked by dogs and fire hosed, and yet they kept going. And when I think about the kind of courage and strength that took, it motivates me to get past the challenges that I see. My great-grandparents were enslaved. And my great-grandfather learned to read despite the fact that he was an enslaved person, and he had the hope necessary to believe these things he hasn't seen. And so I think about that kind of courage, I think about that kind of fortitude, I think about that kind of commitment, and it just makes me remember that when things are challenging for me, I have to keep going. That I'm just standing on the shoulders of people who did so much more with so much less. And that humbles me and motivates me, and it just makes me believe that I can do the things that are necessary.
A lot of people will have a preference for who they'd like to play them in a film about their life. For you, it has been Michael.B.Jordan. Tell me about why him?
Well, I don't think anybody could have someone more talented and more gifted, and it's been a real thrill working with Michael. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I'd seen him in The Wire when he was very young, and then I saw him in Friday Night Lights, and then when I saw him in Fruitvale Station, I just really got excited about him. We started talking before he did Creed and Black Panther, which just cemented and kind of added to his celebrity and his his popularity, but he does an amazing job, and he's not only a talented actor, but he's really committed to these issues. And it's been a real thrill working with him and spending time with him. He and Jamie Foxx and the entire cast did such an amazing job. I see the humanity and dignity of my clients on display, and that's really important to me.
And lastly, not that films like this are made for this reason, but seeing that we're getting these more complex, exciting, important roles for Black actors and seeing them excelling them, how do you feel about the fact that that isn't reflected when it comes to the nominations?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's disappointing, but I think everybody in this film would say that, we didn't make the film, for awards. We really made it to reach people. And the film is reaching people. It opened in the U.S. last week, and the response has been phenomenal. I'm getting so many unbelievable emails from family members who've gone through this, from people who'd lost hope. And that's worth all of the awards in the world. Of course, I'd love to see these extraordinary performances recognized in that way, but it's not a priority. I think every institution has to do better at diversity, and that includes the entertainment industry. But for us, and for me at least, the real prize is reaching people and having people respond in the way that they've responded. That's the real gift. That's the real reward.
Obviously, some of the stories that we see in the film, the subjects have passed away, sadly. But have you had any reactions from their family members or people that knew them?
Yeah. I mean, we screened it for Walter's family a couple of months ago, and it was so wonderful to see them respond. Because part of what's hard about this is when you're living through it, it's easy to believe that nobody cares because nobody's doing anything. And you go through that isolation, you go through that suffering, you go through that struggle alone. And to now have it out there and see people respond has been really affirming for the family members. And that gives me a lot of comfort and a lot of pride that they feel lifted up by having this story told to the whole world. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.